Once again, welcome to IJDM circa late 1990s. Got an interesting piece of tech, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. And hopefully this camera holds out for the rest of the video because I had a few issues with it and it is very old and very interesting. This will be another episode on Mavica, the floppy disk camera. Well, not really. This camera and this camera, well, they look very much the same, very similar. However, well, this camera does use floppy disk, which you insert in the side of the camera, and primarily for photos, but does do 15 seconds of absolutely what I would call almost horrid video. It's not an ideal situation, but it is still a neat piece of technology. I do have two of these, the 81 and the 88, which I am going to do a follow-up on the 88 real quick. It'll probably just be a short take. It's just how it improved over the 81 in a few different aspects. But what we're talking about today is this dandy. This is not a Sony Mavica. It is actually a Sony Video Hi8 Handycam. And yeah, well, it looks very similar. And there is some parts I took off of it just simply because I like it the way it looks without all the accessories on it. But this camera is actually very different, as you will see now. Look at that. Look at all that mech just coming out and asking for something. And well, we could try to stick in a floppy disk, but I don't know if that's a good idea. We don't want to do that because this uses one of these. And this would be a Video 8 Hi8 millimeter cassette tape. And we will go ahead and pop this right in. Now, I have tried to do this video multiple times and with multiple failures, mainly with the mechanism inside. With a lot of this retro tech, you never know what's going to happen. This camera is working absolutely fine. It's got a few maybe issues with the CCD where I see, like in darker light, I see like these little pixels. But overall, in regular outside light, it looks pretty good for its day. And I mean, it takes some decent photos and it looks fine to me. However, there is a problem with the motion sensor. I did some reading and I did try the handy dandy hairdryer trick because I kept getting a moisture error and it would just pop the tape right back out again. As you can see from some of my outtakes I'll probably include on this video on the multiple restarts on it. You take the tape and you just, well, close it. It's not perfect. It's acting funny lately and maybe it doesn't like the cold. I don't know, but it was totally fine. Well, here we go once again with retro tech, and I'm just gonna let this roll because this is one of those weird things you deal with sometimes that sometimes it just gets in this mode where it just doesn't like anything you're doing to it. It's something, the moisture sensor is just way too touchy, maybe something with age, I'm not really sure. And the fact that, I mean, the mech in it is just, I mean, there's a lot of mech going on inside this camera compared to even one of the floppy ones where it's just a floppy drive. And I mean, it didn't even pop this, so I'm not even sure what it's doing now. It's getting a little, there goes the umbrella. Yeah, it doesn't want a tape in there right now. So there's two modes on this camera. It operates a little differently than the other one with the power on switch. Most of the back is relegated for this display, which does fold out. We'll just do a quick walkthrough. You saw the tape mech. On the side, there's counter, reset, and display buttons. And then this has a little hoodie, which I don't have handy right now, but there's a little hood thing that opens up. And basically, if you're trying to film in sunlight so you can see this a little bit better. It's got the date and time. I'm not really sure if it records when you hit these buttons or what that's about. The backlight mode for when you're shooting, I guess, you know, in certain types of light you may need. It's got a fader option, which is kind of cool. Behind this is your S-video video line out, your indicator lights for battery and recording. This is to navigate your menu systems. Here you have your VTR mode, off, and camera with the little locking switch, and then that's how you record to video. Tape. Finish your sentence. Cool little LCD display here with multifunction buttons, volume, and LCD brightness. Here you got different camera modes for sports, nighttime, wide scenery, so forth. Handy dandy handle.
different shooting modes. What it's in right now, it operates as a basic camcorder. You hit the button, it keeps recording until you hit the button again. The center function, as I figured out, which I thought there was something wrong with the camera initially, is actually for momentary, which means as long as you're holding the record button down, it's taking video. The minute you let it off, it stops. And then the other mode is an auto mode, where I guess you hit the button and it records for 5 seconds. I guess if you want to, like, kind of like a video photo and you get it on a tripod. Here's your zoom controls. So this is your microphone. You got your lens here on the bottom of the camera. You got your basic quarter mount to open the cassette and open the battery compartment door. And I do have an aftermarket battery I put in there. I do have an original info lithium battery. This is some sort of accessory plate, which I'm a little fuzzy on what exactly it does. The speaker right here, which you can hear audio on it. So this can double as if you have pre-recorded 8mm movies, and those were a thing for a while. You can play them in this and use this as like one of those Walkmans, because it does have the headphone port. You can do a microphone in, and you can do audio video out via the 3.5mm jack. So all in all, handy dandy carry strap and handle thing. Let's power it on, and excuse the fingerprints on it, and let's just go to VTR mode. Let's go to camera mode first and just show you what it sees. And yeah, you might be able to see those pixels in it, and it's see how they move around. I'm not sure if that's something with the lens or the sensor. I'm not too sure what that is. It's not really important to me, but here's where you would do your different recordings. And and the lens is very narrow. I mean, it's not wide at all. I think it starts off at like what? It looks almost like it's 35mm there. It's already in so close to that camera, but it's fine. And as far as doing moving shots, it did work okay. I did some test shots with it around my house, and you put it in VTR mode. And I did shoot the intro with this, and one of the interim times I did have it working. And doing this video as quick as possible. If I seem like I'm rushing, I am, because I don't know when this thing's just going to shut down, fire off the moisture sensor, and tell me that I cannot put the tape back in for another hour. So we'll just rewind to whatever I can find, and all the mechs seem fine, other than that moisture sensor and it deciding it doesn't want the tape inside anymore. It works pretty good. And from there you can play your video and watch it on the screen. And yeah, it's actually surprisingly steady. This is some video I shot around my yard and just testing it out, but it works perfect. And I mean, there's a pause function, and then you need to stop the video, you hit that, and simple as that. I just thought this would be an interesting camera, because these seem to be fairly rare. I know Sharp made one called the View Cam, and I think they made maybe a few different models. I don't know if they were trying to mimic that with Sony. As far as I know, they only had the CCD-SC55 and 65 series camera in this form factor. And the only other time I think I ever saw one of these cameras and actually held one was back in the day when I was doing fishing shows. One of the guys I worked with actually had one of these in an underwater housing. And I always thought the camera in there was kind of neat for its day, because it was just so different from the ones that you normally hold like this rather than like this. And obviously the other form factor is probably the better way to go, but it is still neat that it uses the same concept and design as pretty much this camera does. Just got maybe a slightly bigger viewfinder, and a few things are different, but otherwise, I mean, both these cameras are very much alike and very much the same form factors as far as I'm concerned. That's it for now. If you got any comments, go ahead and do them. Be sure to like this video, and if you want to subscribe, you definitely know what to do.